A Wall Street Journal op-ed making the case that progressives are not only easing up on criminals, but also that the left is attacking the very foundation of America's constitutional law. The column cites the left's reaction to the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, saying it shows due process is under attack by Democrats, and it goes all the way to the top, the Oval Office. Wall Street Journal editor-at-large Gerry Baker writes that in the minds of the left, quote, these so-called rights, presumption of innocence, due process, trial by jury, proof of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, etc., are not the bedrock legal protections. When they find the defendant unsympathetic, they are inconveniences. Gerry Baker joins us now. Gerry, great to have you on this. You really sort of do a deep dive. And tell me if I get this right, but you're making the case that due process is a basic American right, and both sides are acknowledging that, including the left, except when the defendant is someone you disagree with.
Yeah, absolutely, Sandra. Thanks for having me on. That's right. Due process is actually fundamental to law in this country, and actually to English law, what it derives from, and it has been for almost 1,000 years. The idea that people are entitled to a fair trial, to in criminal cases to be judged by their peers, that the presumption of innocence, all of those things are absolutely essential to a country that respects human rights, to respect citizens' rights. And it's been fundamental. And look, and again, sometimes it doesn't work. We know that. Sometimes people don't get justice. Sometimes juries come back with wrong verdicts. But nobody attacks the system because we accept that that is the basis of our rights. What we're seeing, I think, with the reaction to the Rittenhouse trial, and it all fits in with what you've been hearing about, with what Rashida Tlaib is trying to do with emptying the prisons, or what these prosecutors, these Democratic prosecutors, are doing in reducing bail to such a ridiculously low level that you get things like we saw this tragedy, this atrocity, I should say, in Waukesha at the weekend. It all fits in with this general progressive approach that actually they don't want this, they don't believe in these fundamental citizens' rights, these fundamental rights. They believe in a broader social justice, and it's very alarming, Sandra, because it represents a real undermining of the basic constitutional rights that this country was built on.
You talk about Jerry Nadler in your piece, Jerry, and I just want to read his tweet because it's somewhat baffling. He says, quoting here, "This heartbreaking verdict is a miscarriage of justice and sets a dangerous precedent which justifies federal review by DOJ. Justice cannot tolerate armed persons crossing state lines looking for trouble while people engage in First Amendment protected protest." He's not chairman of Ways and Means, Jerry. He's chairman of the Judiciary Committee, and he's talking about DOJ meddling in double jeopardy, and then goes on to make 3 false statements in his tweet.
Absolutely, Trace. And, you know, that again just speaks to the level of ignorance that Congressman Nadler obviously brings to this and to many other issues that he comments on. But again, it's that's another example of the Democrats' willingness, and in fact eagerness, and it came from the President of the United States. Remember, the President of the United States himself said that he was angry and concerned with the Rittenhouse verdict. Democrats are trying essentially to undermine the very principles that we have. Double jeopardy, Trace, as you say, is another one there. So Kyle Rittenhouse, anybody who watched that trial, who listened to the witnesses, who listened to the evidence, knows very, very well that the jury reached a perfectly sound verdict, because he was evidently acting in self-defense. But they don't like that, the Democrats. They don't like the idea of people acting in self-defense to defend their lives and other people's property if they don't approve of it. So what do? They find a second way around. They want to find a second way to attack him. Get the Justice Department to investigate whether somebody's civil rights were abused. These, by the way, as we know, the victims of the so-called victims of Kyle Rittenhouse themselves had a couple of them had very long criminal records. So this is again what the Democrats are trying to do. They're fundamentally opposed to these rights that protect Americans, that protect all citizens from injustice, and they want to impose their own kind of political justice and replace the judicial system we have with their own social political justice. And it's a very scary development.
Gerry, your piece in the Wall Street Journal, it is a remarkable deep dive into sort of to the conversations about the politics surrounding this whole situation, our criminal justice system, a much needed conversation that we're having in this country. And I don't want to mince words, because you titled that piece, Kyle Rittenhouse and the Left's Terrifying Assault on Due Process. And you go back to the DA here, who set this incredibly low bar, right, for this person, this suspect, to go plow and mow over these innocent parade goers, 5 of them dead, critically injured children, 48 injured people in that parade. And you go back to the Milwaukee DA 2007 quote. We'll put it up on the screen. Acknowledging that this could happen and did happen now. Is there going to be an individual I divert or I put into treatment program who's going to go out and kill somebody? You bet. Guaranteed. It's guaranteed to happen. It does not invalidate the overall approach. So I don't know, Gerry, you tell me, looking at that, that's the 2000 Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel interview, by the way, that he conducted with 2007. He's acknowledging, the DA, that it would be worth continuing with his approach even if, and basically he's saying inevitably, some criminal he diverted from prosecution would end up committing murder. How are we to be okay with that?
That's exactly the point, Sandra, and it's exactly what my point to what Democrats are trying to do, because they're not interested in individual justice. They're not interested in individual rights, in ensuring that, you know, those poor people who went to that happy Christmas parade in Waukesha on Sunday could go about doing what they wanted to do without harm. They're not interested in that. They have this larger social justice program, this larger social justice ideology, all rooted in this critical race theory, which says that because society is unjust, I'm sorry, we've got to accept terrible things happen in the interest of the wider interest of social justice. That's what they're doing. It is a revolutionary ideology, which is undermining the very principles of the rule of law, due process, and all the other things that we in this country we understand as the cornerstone of our rights. And it is a dangerous phenomenon.
Wow. Gerry Baker, Wall Street Journal editor at large, really appreciate your time this afternoon, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerry.
Thanks.